The smell hit me before I even saw it. That sharp, chemical sting of fresh paint. I turned the corner of my driveway, coffee in hand, only to stop dead in my tracks. My garage door, my pristine, slate-gray garage door, was halfway covered in beige paint. And standing right there with a roller dripping in color was Patricia Hemsley, our self-appointed HOA president and self-proclaimed guardian of community aesthetics. She didn't even flinch when I shouted her name. Just gave me that smug smile, the kind that made you want to grind your teeth. "Oh, Mr. Rains," she said, "don't panic. I'm just correcting your non-compliant color scheme." "Non-compliant?" I barked. "That's my house. You can't just—" "Oh, I can," she interrupted. "The HOA guidelines clearly state—" I didn't hear the rest. I was already storming toward my front door to check the footage. Because, see, I'd installed a full set of security cameras last year. 8 in total, all motion-triggered, all recording in high definition. And every single one of them was rolling. The moment she touched that roller to my property. Inside, I pulled up the feed. There she was, strutting across my driveway with a paint can in one hand and a clipboard in the other. She looked like she was leading a parade, not vandalizing someone's home. A couple of her HOA buddies followed behind her, nodding along like disciples at a sermon. I couldn't believe it. She was recording herself too, talking into her phone like she was narrating a home makeover show. "We're making the neighborhood uniform again," she chirped. Uniform. That was her favorite word. Everything in our cul-de-sac had to match. Every bush trimmed the same height. Every door painted the same shade of dull beige. I'd fought her on that color rule for years. The board approved my gray finish, fair and square. But Patricia? She never accepted it. As I watched the footage, a slow grin crept across my face. She had no idea the cameras caught her every move. And her little uniformity project was about to backfire spectacularly. By the time she packed up and left, my garage looked like a patchwork disaster. But that was fine, because while she thought she'd won, I was already preparing my next move. And trust me, it was going to be good. 2 days later, Patricia called an emergency HOA meeting. The email she sent out had the subject line, "Community Appearance Violation. Immediate action required." The audacity almost made me laugh. She vandalized my property. And now she was acting like I was the problem. I arrived early and sat right in the front row of the clubhouse meeting room. My laptop was tucked under my arm, and my camera's footage was queued up, ready to play. Patricia strutted in, clipboard clutched tight, pearls gleaming under the fluorescent lights like she was attending a royal banquet instead of a neighborhood spat. She didn't waste time. "Before we begin," she announced, "I'd like to address the issue of Mr. Rains's non-compliant garage color, which I was forced to begin correcting on behalf of the HOA. The room murmured. Some folks looked confused, others uncomfortable. One old neighbor, Hank, whispered, "Did she just say she started painting his garage?" I stood up before Patricia could spew another word. "Actually, Patricia," I said, calm as a preacher before Sunday service, "I think the board deserves to see what really happened." I set my laptop on the table, turned it toward the crowd, and hit play. The room fell silent as the footage rolled. There she was, our fearless leader, marching up my driveway, roller in hand, her voice echoing across the speakers. "We're taking initiative today, folks. No more mismatched homes," someone gasped. Another person laughed under their breath. Patricia's smile twitched, her eyes darting toward the exit. When the clip ended, I folded my arms. "So," I said evenly, "should we talk about her violating my property rights?" The HOA treasurer, a soft-spoken retired teacher, cleared her throat. "Patricia, you didn't have board approval for this?" Patricia snapped, "I don't need approval to enforce rules." That was it. The dam broke. Neighbors started murmuring louder, throwing questions at her like darts. "You touched his house without permission? Who's paying for that damage? This isn't what we signed up for." Patricia's composure melted faster than ice in August. She fumbled through her notes, stammering about aesthetic standards and neighborhood integrity. I just leaned back in my chair, letting her unravel. Every time she tried to speak, someone interrupted, demanding answers. The woman who once ruled our HOA like a dictator was now cornered, trapped by her own arrogance and a few well-placed cameras. And I wasn't done yet. Not by a long shot. The morning after that chaotic meeting, I woke up to the sound of Patricia hammering on my door. I didn't even bother to hide my smirk as I opened it. There she was, face red, hair wild, clutching a folder full of printed HOA bylaws, like they were legal documents from the Supreme Court. "Mr. Raines," she snapped, "you've humiliated me in front of the community. That footage was taken without consent. You're in violation of privacy laws." I crossed my arms. "Funny," I said, "since you trespassed on my property with a paint roller." "You sure you want to talk about violations?" Her lips tightened. "You're required to repaint your garage to the approved color within 72 hours, or you'll face daily fines." 72 hours? I chuckled. "That's cute. Because as of right now, Patricia, this is a police matter." She blinked. "What are you talking about?" I stepped aside and gestured to the officer walking up my driveway. Oh, look, perfect timing. Officer Bennett had already seen the footage I emailed the night before. He wasn't thrilled. "Ma'am," he said, "did you personally apply paint to this man's property without his consent?" Patricia straightened up, clutching her clipboard like a shield. "As acting HOA president, I was enforcing—" "Ma'am," Bennett interrupted, "that's vandalism." Her jaw dropped. "Excuse me?" "Unlawful defacement of property," he continued. "Even if you believe you were acting under authority, you're not permitted to alter private property without written consent or a court order. You'll need to come with me to make a statement." Neighbors began peeking through blinds, watching the whole scene unfold like a morning soap opera. Patricia's confident posture shriveled into pure panic. She sputtered excuses, waving papers that suddenly meant nothing. Bennett gave me a nod. "We'll handle it, sir. You'll get an incident report for your records." After they left, I stood there for a long moment, staring at my patchy garage, half gray, half beige, and smiled. I could have just repainted it, sure, but I had a better idea. I called up a local mural artist I knew, someone who owed me a favor. A week later, Patricia came back from her mandatory leave from the HOA to find my garage. Transformed, not beige, not gray, but painted with a massive, lifelike mural of a camera lens and the words, "Smile, you're on security." The whole neighborhood loved it. But for Patricia, that mural was only the beginning of her downfall. Patricia didn't take the mural well. The moment she saw it, she nearly tripped over her own heels, storming up my driveway. "This is harassment!" she shrieked, jabbing a finger toward the lens painted above my garage. "You're mocking me publicly." I stayed calm, leaning against my truck. "No, Patricia. I'm reminding everyone that around here, property lines still mean something." That mural turned my driveway into a neighborhood attraction. People strolled by just to take pictures. Kids on bikes laughed and shouted, "Hey, Mrs. Camera," whenever she passed. The HOA queen had become the community's favorite punchline. But karma wasn't done yet. A week later, an anonymous letter circulated through the neighborhood. It exposed Patricia's unsanctioned expenditures. She'd been using HOA funds for beautification projects that suspiciously matched her own home improvements, fresh landscaping, new patio furniture, even a driveway seal job, all paid for with community money. At the next HOA meeting, the place was packed wall to wall. Patricia tried to keep her composure, fanning herself with her clipboard. But the whispers were relentless. "Did you really use HOA funds for your house, Patricia?" someone asked. She scoffed. "Of course not. These accusations are baseless." That's when Hank, the same neighbor who'd chuckled at the meeting before, stood up and raised his phone. "Funny thing," he said. "I pulled receipts from the HOA's shared account. The dates match your contractor invoices. Every single one." The room erupted. Patricia froze, eyes darting like a trapped animal. She fumbled for her words, but the treasurer stood and handed her a printed letter. "Effective immediately," she said. "The board is voting to remove you as HOA president pending investigation." You could have heard a pin drop. Patricia's face turned the same color as her beige paint. "You can't do this," she cried. "I built this community." "No," I said quietly from the back of the room. "You bullied it." The crowd murmured in agreement. Patricia looked around, realizing she had no allies left. Her clipboard slipped from her hand, papers scattering across the floor like the last shreds of her authority. Within a month, she'd moved out. Her house listed "for sale" in bold letters. The HOA voted to repeal half her ridiculous appearance codes. And my mural? It stayed. The new board even declared it a symbol of neighborhood rights. Now, every time I pull into my driveway, I glance at that camera mural and smile. Because sometimes, the best revenge isn't paint or punishment. It's the truth, caught on tape and played for everyone to see. And Patricia? She'll never look at a paint roller the same way again. If you enjoyed watching Karen finally get what she deserved, make sure to hit that like button. Drop a comment with your favorite part. And subscribe for more crazy HOA stories like this one. Trust me, the next one's even wilder.